And my timer. All right, we're good to go.
Well, thank you so much for having us. We are very excited to be here today and to share our experiences with OER and specifically the online platform, Luminome. My name is Betty Berbari, and I'm the Assistant Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences here at SUNY Old Westbury.
And my name is Meredith Bernstein. I'm the Director of the Math Redesign Lab, which is one of our math labs that we offer to our students here on campus.
So first, we wanted to discuss a course that we offer here at SUNY Old Westbury called PowerTrack Math. PowerTrack Math is a 2-credit math course that is a lower level math course specifically geared for students that haven't taken a math class in a long time, or they literally have, but their grades are not very good and they want to increase their skills to really get themselves ready for the gen ed class. It's a 2-credit math course, as I mentioned, and it covers mathematical literacy to prepare the student in mathematics for their gen ed class called algebra, statistics, or we have another gen ed class here that we offer called quantitative decision making. And that course is geared to the non-STEM student focusing on financial literacy. We cover algebraic and graphical problem solving. It also has real number arithmetic, as well as introductory algebra. How do we place students into the course? The placement has changed over the past few years. Standardized tests some have been exempt or optional, and we used to use the Regents and we used to use the SAT scores to help us with placement. But now we had to change our measures to include the number of years that the last math course was taken. And also we included the GPA at the high school GPA, which studies have shown that there is a correlation between your GPA and how well you do in math classes in college. So that was helpful. We also looked at math anxiety. A lot of students present with math anxiety in general. So we wanted to help students overcome the math anxiety by giving them a 2-credit math course to increase their skills, send them into their gen ed math course with a little bit more confidence and a little bit more practice. In 2018, we were approached by Open Educational Resources. Since we are a SUNY school, there was a contract between OER and SUNY to use their resources for some classes. We were asked to identify some math classes that would benefit. So we looked at our courses, and this course, PowerTrack, had my math lab, Pearson's My Math Lab we were using at that time, but we thought it would be a great course to use for OER's Luminome. So we sat down and we decided, instead of using one of the courses that Luminome had already prepared, we wanted to create our own custom course. So we took each question in my math lab and matched it 1-for-1 in Luminome to create a custom course, and we would be able to use this course to match the curriculum, have students literally take the course as it was in my math lab. So when we did do passing rates, we knew that the passing rates were based on a course that was almost identical to the course that we were giving before the pilot. We gave surveys. We asked the instructors and students how they felt. They found Luminome to be very user-friendly, and the student surveys showed that they were happy with the program. So ever since 2018, the pilot, we have been using all of the sections of PowerTrack on Luminome. The online assignment manager and course building platform in Luminome is excellent. I have compared it to many other programs, and I found it to be top-notch in its abilities. Literally, it has a complete package of learning materials. I looked at the help tools, and we decided that the help tools were excellent. Students had no trouble finding them and using them, especially the videos. They enjoy the videos very much. And it is a free alternative to traditional publisher material, which we know how expensive that can be. So students did not have to pay anything to have the online platform, and that was also a win-win. The ebook provides an alternative to the physical textbook, and it covers all of the content that you could cover by using a OER platform. So the question bank is pretty much limitless, and you can grab questions from multiple textbooks instead of being limited to one textbook. This is an example of what Luminome offers. We have a fake student data course, which allows you to play around with weights and assignments to see how it would look without impacting, live student data. But you can see here, all of the tools on the side left bar show the roster, the grade book, the calendar. There's just so much you can do. And we have played with the course over the years to tweak it, to use more and more help tools to make the student experience not only engaging, but fun, to make math a fun experience for students. You can see the modules here in the middle of the screen. You can pick whatever topics you want and pick homework questions and quiz questions to cater to your needs for the curriculum.
So a little bit of statistics. This semester currently, we have 2 sections of Power Track Math running. Between both sections, we have a total of 27 students. So you can see we keep those class sizes very small. And we have lab classes built into the schedule, so our students can come to our lab, log onto a computer, log onto Lumen, and they could do their work, and their professor's there to help them. Since we started the pilot of this class using Lumen in 2018, we've had 295 students enrolled in Power Track Math using Luminome. Our overall from that semester on passing rate is 58.68%, which unfortunately does seem a little bit low. However, remember, starting in spring of 2020, we were in COVID. So across the board, we saw our passing rates drop. But comparing it, like Betty had mentioned, to when we were using our other program, passing rates were pretty much identical. So, and when we take a look into Lumen, Betty mentioned that you could look at all those links on the left. So if you click into the roster, you can see a nice list of all your students. So here we have some of our math friends, calculus, algebra, and their buddies. So it lists a nice roster for you. You can see how many students you have enrolled in your class. You can see the date of the last time they accessed the program, the assignment, which is great if you want to question if a student's actually doing their work. It also keeps track of their grades here. So lots of things you can see on your roster page. When a student clicks into their assignment, they can see on the left a list of all the questions that are in the assignment. So this particular assignment has 20 questions on it. They can click on a question and it pulls up the question in that light blue box. There's a box there that they can type in their answer. They could submit their answers right from here. What's awesome, Betty did mention before, is that there's infinite number of examples here. So if a student really wants, they could see so much. They could do these questions, keep going until they understand the material. There's videos, so if they're working alone, they don't have a friend or a teacher around to help them, they can click a video, they can watch a little video of how to do the examples, which is a really, really great feature. It shows the students the due dates. So if a student, doesn't have their agenda near them or to know when these are due, it keeps track for them right there. You could extend a late pass to your student. So if a student, things happen, we understand that, doesn't get their homework in on time, forgets to do it, they were sick, they were working, you could put a late pass on and they can submit their work late. It also shows you, this is a great feature, the amount of time that your students are taking per question. So as a teacher, if you go back and you notice that question number 5 on this assignment, it took every student in your class 20 minutes to complete, that might be set off an alarm. Maybe there was students were struggling, and maybe this is something you as a teacher need to go back and be like, listen, a lot of my students have trouble with this question. Let's go back and look at this together as a class. Keeps track of the % of incorrect. Just a lot of great features here for the students, but also for the professor to gauge how their students are doing when they go to work on their assignments independently. Another great feature is you can upload your course specific information, put a calculator right there for your students. We put a calendar for our students so they could see exactly what they're learning on every day that their class meets, when all their homeworks are due, their quizzes, the dates of their exams, the dates of their final. On our first day of class, we do a PowerPoint, an orientation to show them everything they need to know about this course. So we upload that for the students, a copy of their syllabus. We post all that right here in Lumen. So it's one platform. They could go on, they can find everything they need to know for the class, all their assignments, their dates, their syllabus, all in one spot. So it makes it very easy for the students. They don't have to be jumping around from website to website. And if we take a look here at the gradebook shows you could set it up, like Betty mentioned, this is a fake student data course, so you could play around with it a little bit. You notice in the top of the gradebook, it says final exam. It shows you all the percentages. You could set that to exactly how your syllabus is. What I like is the color coding. So you could see on the top, everything in green is a homework assignment. So all the green assignments are being averaged together into the green 20%. All the yellows are being averaged together. Those are video lessons. So it's very organized. The students can see exactly what gets put together to count in each of their, for their averages. That's where everything's coming from. And it shows the students their weighted total. So they know exactly how they're doing in this course. They could look and they could see, you know, this is my grade. Am I doing okay? Am I not doing okay? Another
I
great
hate
feature.
to interrupt. We are at 10 minutes. We are at 10 minutes for the session. Sorry, my timer just went off.
Well, that's
So
okay, perfect. Look at the next one.
Okay, perfect. Oh, yes.
Thank you.
It worked out well, and we both thank you, and we're so happy we wound up taking a little extra time because we needed it.
Okay, yep. I'm gonna get things switched around. I am writing down any questions in the chat, so I will be able to get those read out at the end of the session. So I'm just pulling up Kristen here. I just saw her, but I'm Kristen and Dana. So, oh, there you are, Kristen. How are you? Perfect. Spotlight and spotlight. Perfect. All right. And I know, Dana, you're going to be sharing screen, so you can go ahead and get that set up. And same thing, I'm going to start the timer for 10 minutes, but if you take 8, that's totally fine. We'll just keep going with it. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started right now. All right, we're good to go.
Okay, thank you. So thank you for attending our lightning presentation titled Embedding Decolonizing Methodologies in Open Educational Resources, OERs for Indigenous Studies. I'm Kristen Nyitray, Director of Special Collections and University Archives and University Archivist at Stony Brook University.
I'm Dana Reijerkerk, the Knowledge Management and Digital Assets Librarian at Stony Brook University.
Our research reimagines OERs as indigenized, decolonized information sources that validate indigenous epistemologies. We identified and assessed more than 350 LibGuides for Indigenous Studies, or IS, created by Association of Research Libraries, or ARL member institutions, against a rubric of Indigenous critical pedagogical protocols. Our findings were synthesized in an article that was published in 2022 in College and Research Libraries. For more than a decade, library scholarship has considered the effectiveness of LibGuides, but only a few studies have discussed guides in Indigenous contexts, and further, none have focused on user experience or UX and Indigenous guides. IS emerged as a distinct field of study in higher education institutions in Canada in the 1960s and then in the US during the 1970s. Today, more than 200 academic institutions in North America offer programs in IS.
Slide numbers are wrong.
Oh no. No.
Yeah, I think the last one.
Okay, we'll just keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
Academic libraries contribute to indigenizing higher education and removing access barriers to Indigenous research materials. One way is with LibGuides, a popular web platform that thematically curates and promotes information sources and bridges curricular and research objectives for library collections.
Okay, and then I think it's this one. This is the right one.
Our research was guided by 3 questions. To what extent do ARL institutions represent IS and LibGuides? Content, what words or phrases most frequently appear and assign titles, subjects, and tags? And UX design, do guides align with best practice protocols outlined in the International Indigenous Design Charter, Protocols for Sharing Indigenous Knowledge in Professional Design Practice? Okay. Our literature review focused on writings in the areas of Indigenous and university relations, critical Indigenous pedagogy in higher education, and pedagogical considerations for LibGuides and UX design. We defined a, quote, Indigenous guide, unquote, as a guide with primary coverage in one of these areas in North American contexts. Inclusion of phrases like, quote, Native American studies, unquote, in the title or description, Indigenous holidays, relevant library programming, narrow Indigenous issues, Indigenous communities, courses centered on Indigenous topics, and Indigenous student resources. We collected our data in December 2021 and recorded it in a shared master Google Sheet. We identified ARL institutions using its membership list and performed iterative searches twice for specific words and phrases for common variations of the word Indigenous, such as Native American and First Nations. We located IS programs using the Association on American Indian Affairs, quote, Native American Studies Programs, unquote, list. Canadian institutions were searched separately by majors, minors, certificates, or concentrations. We drew our UX rubric criteria from the Indigenous International Design Charter.
So 87 ARL institutions have at least one IS guide. The 5 institutions with the most IS guides are the University of British Columbia with 26, University of Hawaii at Manoa Library with 18, University of New Mexico with 17, University of Toronto also with 17, and University of Washington with 16. The most commonly used keywords are Indigenous, American, Native, Studies, and History. The most assigned subjects and tags are Indigenous, American, and Native. The most frequently selected subjects are Indigenous Studies, American Studies, First Nations, Ethnic Studies, and Social Sciences. A few highlights of the UX design are, while 72 ARL member institutions offer IS programs, only 66 also use LibGuides. We found 6 guides dedicated to a local Indigenous community. Land acknowledgements are included in 42 guides, and 1 was co-authored with Indigenous community representatives. ARL member libraries are not fully using the tool in a way that optimizes its enhanced web design and website creation capabilities. For example, the platform's minimally integrated with existing library web infrastructure and branding. The practice of highlighting licensed resources as, quote, top picks, end quote, or categorizing library materials by format rather than by subject presents incompatibilities with inquiry-based learning. This method is culturally remote and counter to Indigenous epistemological approaches. To transform a guide from a Pathfinder to an indigenized resource, we developed an aspirational UX framework with practical examples of indigenized attributes. These changes can be applied locally and be made incrementally and work toward the goal of promoting Indigenous agendas of self-determination. This is an excerpt of Table 4 from our article. It is the rubric and results of the 66 ARL members with IS guides at institutions with IS programs. It includes the protocols, protocol definition, crosswalked element, and member level totals. One study limitation was that our data collection process required the searches be performed in both SpringShare's LibGuide community and each library's website, and therefore some guides may have been inadvertently missed. Future research could enlarge the scope to include non-ARL libraries, library systems, and non-LibGuide sites, as not all libraries could afford or have access to the platform. Research guides can be more than pathfinders or lists. Libraries can reimagine guides as indigenized, decolonized information sources to validate Indigenous ways of knowing. This can be achieved through improved presence, discoverability, and visibility, and with pedagogy that centers Indigenous knowledge and UX design principles in the arrangement, selection, and presentation of library resources. If you'd like to get in contact with us after our talk, you're welcome to email us at these addresses. Thank you again to the SUNY OER Summit for the opportunity to present our research and to each of you for attending. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, I'm going to switch gears again. And again, we'll take questions at the end. So I'm just going to remove the spotlight here from each of these folks. And then Anna, I have you next on my list. So, yep, perfect. I see you right there. All right, I'm gonna spotlight you. And whenever you're ready, if you have a screen to share, you can feel free to go ahead and pull that up. All right, I'm gonna get a timer too. Oh, I think you're muted, Anna.
Yeah, long as I didn't see.
Yep,
I
we
didn't
we can see your slide. I think you just got to make it a little bit bigger. Put it in the presentation because I'm just seeing the little.
Can you see that?
I'm seeing your desktop now, so I'm just seeing the photo of your desktop.
So you didn't see the.
I did see the PowerPoint was there. It just was like in a minimized screen, so it was smaller. So you just want to put it in presentation mode.
Okay, hold on. Oh, darn it.
You're all right.
Sorry, hold on. I enlarged it, but it didn't look like me. Okay, hold on. Screen share meeting. Okay, I saw that. And I make it bigger. And then presentation mode. Where can I get that? Let me see. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm looking. Oh. Do you see that now better or not?
We're still seeing your desktop screen, so you might want to stop your. Oh, there we go. We're good. Now
Okay,
I'm
I'm
seeing it.
sorry.
Yep. No,
It's
you're
good?
okay. Yep.
good,
Now we're
okay.
seeing it. All right.
Sorry, guys.
You're okay.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
I'm gonna start it now, so you're good
Okay.
to go.
Thank you. Thank you very much for me have this opportunity to bring up the thing I have been working on. I have to confess before I came to SUNY Canton, I have not worked with OER, but when I have the job here, they always ask me, faculty administration, how much textbook saving we have for the students so far. So I have to come up a way to calculate it. So, and I look for a lot of information, literature review to see what kind of methodology people are using. The textbook is everybody agree that OER saves student textbook, but how we track the saving money, the dollar, how many we save, the agreement for one methodology is not there. So the reason for that is because the challenge we have is we limit access to the course and enrollment data as a librarian. I cannot access to the banner, so have a limited access to see exactly what the textbook costs. And also time consuming, and is require a lot of time to search. And then also the saving data is not including some non-monetary saving, such as the faculty. They had the time working. They had the time on the OER adoption. So I found on the web. I give you 6 examples for how the people calculate the textbook saving. The first one is I found is a research on they using average price of traditional textbook money, and then they have average price of OER courses, and they subtract that, and then they saving 1 credit course for textbook is $116.94. And the other one, the second one is for student public interest research group. They're using estimate. They just using estimate $100 not for credit, something like that. And the other example is for National Association of College. They provide average textbook cost using their college bookstore data. They think is about $82 average. And then the next one is Nicole and David. They also use a cost estimate. It's using a estimate cost. They don't have a detail about how they come up to $100. And the fifth example is the one they're using a random data. They choose 7 courses, and then they calculate how much per course is saving the textbook. The $79.37. And the last one is a textbook is about Hilton. And they study for the 7 community colleges. They compare for 7 colleges, and they come up the average textbook cost for per credit is $90.61. So here is the overview of what research I have come up. So it's between $82 to $116, something like that, for textbook. So I come up with methodology because I want the actual to see what in this particular campus, how much textbook saving we save for the student. So the step 1, I go to the e-campus bookstore. On there, you can click on each course, and they will show you what textbook they're using. They will provide the new book course, and they provide a used book course. So I'm using the new book price and used book price, average them as the is the average textbook cost for that particular course, and then I multiply the enrollment, how many students in that class. So I give a screenshot here. That is e-campus, for instance, this business communication classes. They have a new book, $92.55, and used book is $66.96. So I average it. There's a new book price, used book price, average book price, and there's 30 students in that particular course. I multiply for this price and then come up this price. So I check every single course on that particular semester, and I come up this column and I add them together so we know how much you save the textbook for that particular semester. So I back to the fall. I start last year in September. So I go back to fall 2022, winter 2022, spring 23, summer 23, and fall 23. You can see the average for a traditional textbook cost is $132 for fall semester. Winter is $135. And then the prices actually it look like it's going down because I get more courses provide in the fall semester than the winter and spring. So the average is lower than what you see in the past semester. So that is the saving. I come up as the last column, add them together. So that's the saving we save a student for that particular semester. So that is the research I have done. I'm sure I hope the other audience today will give me some sense of what you do for your OER textbook saving. How do you calculate your saving? I would like to learn more. I'm not saying that the way I do is the right way, but it's the only way I know how to calculate it. So that's all I have. So any questions, put in the chat. I can answer for that.
Perfect. Thank you, Anna, for that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and remove you. And next up, I think I have Shannon. So Shannon, I saw you here earlier.
Yeah, I'm ready, I think.
All right, perfect.
I am at a conference, so I only have one screen, so you have to bear with me here. So
okay, you're fine.
Can you make me a co-host?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
So let me do this. All right, there you go. And then the screen share should be enabled for you whenever you're ready.
Right. Okay, and let me just move my Zoom over. And I'm assuming you can now see my presentation, right?
Yep, we can see you. Are you turning video on or not for this presentation?
No, I'm not going to, if that's okay, because it just would be too visually challenging for me to do that with just one screen. Okay.
No problem. Just wanted to make sure that you knew that it was off, but we're good to go.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you for being with me for 8 minutes about how we tried to develop a better understanding of institutional affordability data and also strategies at Empire over the last 8 months. So I just wanted to talk about where we started. You know, we always have to get Blue, our mascot, in whenever we can. So we have pretty good data about OER usage. We have dedicated staffing to manually label sections and courses as OER in Banner, and that's how we have created data dashboards about OER. But we really didn't have any aggregated institution-wide data about overall course resource affordability. So in the affordability discussion, OER is definitely a great tool. We try to promote it as much as possible, but we know that there's more that we are doing and can do with course resource affordability. And when I got here about 8 months ago, the library did not knowingly license textbooks for courses. If a faculty asked for a textbook or asked for an ebook and used it as a textbook, that was fine, but we didn't go out and try to purchase textbooks for courses or to try to do it in a programmatic fashion. So the inspiration I had, I had a lot of conversations even before I came to Empire with an administrator and associate provost at Empire. And what he said is, I'd really like us to have 20% of our courses having no textbook costs. And I repeatedly said to him, I think you have more than 20% already. You just need to know how to prove it, or how to take actions, how to increase that. It shouldn't be that hard. Our OER percentage of sections was nowhere near 20%. And that's really what I wanted to focus on, is how can we impact affordability as we're also trying to get more OER adoption. But we know that there are courses without OER available. And then also I was inspired by CUNY and the CUNY School of Professional Studies, which is a lot like what Empire does. We're many different things, but we're primarily an online institution serving professional students, serving adult students. We certainly serve other groups, but the zero textbook costs and factoring in textbook affordability outside of OER, like CUNY was doing, was something that we wanted to do at Empire, so that we could say, this is what you could expect as far as the percentage of courses, where you'll have to buy a course resource. And then this also gave us the ability to broaden out the conversation about open pedagogy when there wasn't a good textbook that we could license, or an OER that we could license, or an OER that we could use as well. So the key step, and I know this is a major obstacle and barrier for many libraries or for many institutions, if your bookstore isn't a partner, then it's kind of hard for you to get that data about what's being assigned. Fortunately, our bookstore has Empire employees throughout parts of that organization, so we were able to form a very good partnership. They provided us with multiple semesters going back of textbooks that were assigned, so that we could get a sense of what impact we could have, so that we could start to reallocate library budget to specifically try to increase our affordability. So they gave us well-formatted ISBNs linked to courses in Excel with ISBNs that were we could use, that we could automate. And this was absolutely essential for us to do title matching that wasn't extremely time consuming. We could do it in a fashion where we're uploading spreadsheets, etc. And then the bookstore data also helped us to identify areas, so courses with many sections where there may be no textbooks assigned, there may not be, and then we went into Brightspace and we looked at the courses to try to understand that better. So it was a great partnership with our bookstore. I thank everyone who worked with us on that. So what we started to do is, obviously throughout all of this, the undercurrent is we're trying to promote OER as much as we possibly can. That's not the focus of this discussion because I only have 8 minutes. But so we started to purchase more textbooks, promote this to faculty and students to say, we can help with affordability. We can license textbooks. We had multiple years of textbooks that we had done title matching to say, we can do this, right? We have the funds, we can do this. And then we tried to, take a student-focused perspective and said, where can we put this in front of students so that they can make decisions based on the amount of money it will cost them to buy course resources. So we put a book note in our Barnes and Noble system, which is here on the right, to say this book is available for free through the library before you purchase. And we had to do it iteratively and buy these books constantly because, faculty at Empire, like every other institution, they don't always give textbooks far in advance of when the course starts. So we wanted to start buying these textbooks and getting them out, letting students know before we got, more than 50% or a lot of the textbook adoptions. So some of the lessons learned, really high ROI. We spent $25,000 on ebooks. That led to over 664,000 of savings just this semester. And that's going to start to pile up because the faculty are using the same textbook over and over again. We initially limited to 250. We soon boosted that up to 450. I think we're going to go higher when we can start to link long-term enrollments to spending more than 450. And then it took a lot of effort to get discovery of the ebook textbooks. This is a picture of Prima. We did discovery collections. We really worked through the best way, and we're not quite happy with that yet, but we're working on it. So there was an ability to search it with the courses, but that was a pretty cumbersome process. And then we found that matching all of the disparate data, even though it was clean, it still was identifying courses, and it was identifying different things in different ways. So merging those course sections together to really do an analysis was highly time consuming. So what this led to was we found in the first semester that we did this, 31% of our entire sections are affordable. So they're either OER, and OER was about 9%, and then zero textbook costs. So we bought a textbook and then licensed that and then used that instead of the student having to buy a print textbook. So that led to a little less than $950,000 in savings. So we have a lot of sections. So we looked at 1,880 of those sections because those were sections where there was more than one enrollment. But we do a lot of individual study and prior learning assessments. So we took those out as far as this analysis. So some of the things, just as far as going forward, the library now participates in a team-based course review process. And one of our strategic goals is to have 100% of our courses in an online environment, and 98% of our entire course sections are online. So almost all of these will have to go through a team-based course review process. So the library is working upstream to try to have those conversations with faculty to move away from textbooks if possible, or have them adopt OER. And then we also tried to solve the problem of data issues. We added a new banner attribute, and that's really what I'm going to talk about with the final thoughts. A new banner attribute that's ZTC, which is different than OER, that we're going to flag those in banner so that students can make that decision as they're registering. And we've dedicated more staff time to go in proactively and label those as zero textbook costs. So, I think that's going to pull some of the course sections away from OER because they're actually zero textbook costs. But I think, overall, it will allow us to have a strategic and sustainable way to approach overall course resource affordability. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Shannon. All right, next up, I have Bryn. So I see you in here, Bryn. So whenever you're ready, we can get you set up. Let's see. Okay, perfect. There you are. Sorry, I have so many folks on my screen here, so I'm just trying to make sure I can see you. There we go. All right, and if you have a screen to share, that should be enabled for you so that you can go ahead and get that set up. All right, perfect. Yep, looks like we're looking at the screen. I'm just gonna get my timer.
Yeah, just Sorry, just one second. Every
No,
time I
you're good.
restart my computer, my slideshow wants to show on a different screen.
You're good.
All right. So now let's see if I can do this. Okay.
Perfect. Yep. All right. I'm going to start the 10 minutes and you are good to go.
All right. Okay. Everyone, my name is Bryn Brown, and I'm with Tarleton State University in Stephenville, Texas. And my presentation is going to be about converting an online course to OER lessons learned from a newbie. So I'm a newbie in the sense that I have not done this before. This was my first time. A little bit of background and context. At Tarleton State University, they offered an internal grant. It was with our Center for Educational Excellence. So the provost and part of our strategic plan, like many of y'all, was to implement OER resources whenever possible. So our CEE Center offered an internal grant and said anybody that wants to apply can do so. And I did, and I worked with another professor on this course. It was a graduate online course, and the title of the course is Organizational Development and Leading Change. And, excuse me, previously in the course, we required 2 required textbooks for students to purchase. We did know going into this that this particular subject we might run into some issues with there being scarcity in terms of the OER textbooks that were available. So we had to think about that as we were preparing our grant and looking at what we could realistically do with the OER resources. So some successes and challenges, because we did do this, we implemented the OER resources last fall. So my counterpart, he taught the class in the fall and the spring, and then he retired and I took over in the summer. So he and I worked together to implement the resources and remove the textbooks entirely. And then he taught the class, like I said, for 2 semesters, and now I'm teaching it. So some of the successes, students were absolutely grateful. They expressed their gratefulness that we had removed the textbooks. They were not super expensive, I don't think, in the grand scheme of things. They were about a little less than $200 per student. But we had a lot of students say, as a graduate student, textbooks tend to be expensive, and we're very grateful that y'all are doing this. I think another success is it gave us a lot of freedom with the delivery modes, meaning what all we wanted to include in terms of the resources and how we wanted to organize it. When you have textbooks, you're kind of bound to what the authors present in terms of the order of things, how the information is presented, and you can always add to that, of course, but this gave us a lot of freedom just in what topics we wanted to pull in and how we wanted to organize those topics. And we weren't bound by those textbooks and what those authors had presented. So it also makes it, I think, easier to change and adapt. So if we wanted to add topics or content, it was easier to adapt those things and provide changes that way, as opposed to being bound by textbooks. So I think those were definitely some successes that we had so far. Some of the challenges, part of our very first challenge was how do we present our OER textbooks and other information in our learning management system? And we use Canvas. So the idea was, okay, we we don't have a lot of just textbooks in this topic. There wasn't a textbook we could go out that we could find that was specifically related to organizational development and change management. So we had to think about what kinds of resources we're going to use, which was another challenge. But how do we present those in our learning management system? How do we get our students to understand, this is essentially your quote textbook that you're reading, but you're going to be reading articles, you're going to be watching videos. So we did a number of different things, but just thinking in terms of, do we embed these things? Do we assign links where they link out to read things? Aesthetically, how is this going to be presented? And then, like I mentioned, finding resources and textbooks, it is a challenge. We're still working on it. It was a challenge when we started, but we also wanted to make sure, because this is a graduate course and it's a very kind of practitioner focused course in our College of Business, we wanted to make sure we had variety of resources, that we were inclusive and diverse in what we were offering our students to read in their content. Some of the lessons learned, I would say that this is from what I learned, was that it's important to review the OER textbooks that are out there. And like I said, there isn't anything we could find that was particular to this topic, but we pulled in some other textbooks that have related content. So we were able to look at some existing OER textbooks and use some of that information for like theoretical support. So we did look at existing resources that were out there. That's how we started. And then we went to more practitioner type sources, like I talked about, articles, web links, videos. Definitely, we had to check the copyright on everything, right, to make sure we were able to use it. Check the student access, just meaning, just because we had access to like a Harvard Business, review article doesn't necessarily mean our students would. So we had to make sure we checked every single thing to make sure it was accessible to our students. And then also, I would say we learned, try to integrate as many library resources as possible. Our libraries have databases of articles and videos, and students can use their login, that we have for school. They can use that to access those library resources. We did work with our librarians. We have a librarian that is specific to OER. That's what this person does, and she supports all of the content and resources for OER. So if you need something, you contact her and she helps you. We did work with her. She was the one that helped us find some existing textbooks that we could use. So we were able to do that and use her to help us. So all in all, we're still actively working on this and constantly revisiting and revising. The students, they do seem to appreciate, like I said, that we are not requiring them to purchase a textbook. There is a little bit more of a, I don't want necessarily learning curve, but just an explanation to students to say, okay, you're not using, you're not purchasing a textbook to read. So where are you getting this content and how is it being presented? And I've asked my students for feedback. Would they prefer it presented a different way? Do they want it all embedded? Do they want links out to things so they can, outside of our Canvas system, so they can read and watch videos outside of Canvas? So I'm trying to take all that into consideration as we move forward and make changes. And that's all I have in terms of my presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Bryn, for that. All right. We're going to switch gears here. I think, Amy, you're our last one for this lightning round session. So I'll get you spotlighted here to switch things around. All right, perfect. Whenever you're ready, we can get you set up and then I can go ahead and start the timer. All right, perfect. This looks good. 10 minutes is starting now. We're good to go.
Okay. Do you see my PowerPoint?
Yep, we can see it. You look good.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So I want to start out my presentation with kind of giving some background information. I work at Moraine Park Technical College. We are located in Wisconsin. We have 3 campuses in 3 different counties. The campus I work at is about 30 minutes from northwest of Milwaukee, if you can kind of geographically kind of get an idea in your mind of where we're located. Our technical college offers over 100 different programs, and these are included in trades, manufacturing, and we also have several articulation agreements with other four-year colleges in our area. So getting buy-in for the OER is a huge undertaking at our college here. We are probably a little bit further behind our initiatives in comparison to SUNY. So my apologies if this information is not quite as engaging and forthcoming as some of the other presentations today, but I have learned a lot through this experience. So I hope you can take away something from my presentation today. So what is a Spark Shop? So we have, I'm sorry, my slide's not progressing.
Did you try the arrows on the keyboard? Sometimes that helps a little bit more than the mouse.
Oh,
there we
here
go.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
All right. So our Spark Shops were mini workshops that we provided to aim to concentrate the learning experience that equips educators and also our institution administrators with the skills and insights needed to seamlessly integrate OERs into their educational framework. These workshops often served as catalysts for change, sparking interest and commitment among our participants, mainly our faculty members at our institution. And at our institution, when we aimed at doing our Spark Shops, we were kind of looking at more focused on the module level or supplemental resources to start incorporating in classes in the hopes that that would expand and inspire others to take on the challenges of writing a textbook or developing a full OER to utilize in their course. So we were kind of starting with baby steps. At the module level, the OER can be incorporated into specific courses with subjects. This involves creating custom assignments and quizzes and supplementary resources that are openly licensed. We also provided much support with this part. In addition to our Spark Shop, we also had follow-up workshops that were guided by librarians and instructional designers at our institution. But by doing so, educators enhance their engagement and are able to tailor their experiences with OERs into making them adaptable to meet the needs of all of our students. This integration not only reduces the cost, but it enhances the access, primarily for accessibility with all of our students and the ability to adapt content as needed. The increased flexibility also empowered instructors to advocate for the implementation in our initiatives with OER, whether at the module level or selecting a relevant resources at the activity level by crafting engaging materials. But students were also able to benefit from this flexibility and adaptability. And the materials that are curated are more specific to the needs of the course and also engaging for students. So I also just want to emphasize, we have many faculty and instructors that teach in unique areas where, the availability of textbooks are pretty limited. I think of welding, I think of electricity, a lot of our hands-on trades and manufacturing. The amount of resources is pretty limited. And also, we also are encouraging faculty to not just develop textbook resources, but also videos and audio things as well. So what were our findings at the Spark Shop level that we were kind of presenting these concepts of the basic beginning of our OER initiatives at our institution, that it worked best if they were arranged during traditional meeting times. This was crucial because it also worked best because we could get engagement when people weren't having to make an extra meeting or make an extra day of learning. So we engaged them while they were in their traditional meeting. It sparked interest for faculty members, so they could also be a catalyst for the change at our institution. It increased our engagement and our usage. We have seen, we don't have all our data because we just started doing this process, but we have seen that there is much use of supplemental materials increased in courses, and also then reducing overall the cost of textbooks. And by doing these mini Spark Shops, we also are engaging faculty to take new steps in professional development in OERs. I have recruited several people at our institution to also attend SUNY today. So hopefully we'll keep spreading the good word about OERs and how we can make progress here at our institution in Wisconsin. And of course, the overarching theme, I think, with OERs is that we want to reduce those costs of textbooks for students. So next steps. So I don't know if your institutions have done initiatives or engagement of how to get people involved with developing OERs in their courses, but I found that Spark Shops worked really nice at our institution because we could really hit and target pockets of faculty members at different meeting times. It's just more intimate, and it's short and sweet. And I think it also builds relationships, which I think is crucial in the OER development, because I think overall faculty want to feel supported when they're developing materials, and they want to have people that can kind of support them throughout the process, especially with copyright details. So at our institution, we have 4 instructional designers, and we have 3, I think 4 or 5 librarian staff that can assist with that. So of course, barriers, we have found them already in our start of our initiative. And that is really probably time and resources, I think, have been the main components of the barriers for our institution. But we have had a lot of success with instructors also learning how to adapt and change materials that are already available to them. And of course, what are some advantages that you could find by doing a Spark Shop at your institution? I think the biggest advantage that I'm seeing in our development at our system college here is that materials are generated by the experts in the fields. So they are really tied to their content. And just because of their depth of knowledge with the content, students are also able to learn more, and we can really custom fit the content to be more flexible for students as well. So that brings me to the conclusion of my short lightning round for you. So comments, questions, and concerns. And here's my contact information. Thank you, SUNY, for allowing me the opportunity to present today.
Great, thank you, Amy. That was wonderful. All right, I'm gonna remove here, and I know we've got about 15 minutes left for questions. I have been just taking note of questions that have been popping into the chat for each session. So looks like the first question that I have was for Betty and Meredith, and the question was from Ed. And he says, did you find that you had to write a lot of custom questions, or was the question library already in OHM good enough that you could generally find an equivalent question?
So I'm going to speak to that only because at the time that the pilot started, I was the one with one of our lab tutors working on the matching of the questions. And I have to say, it was a meticulous task because it was an involved process matching all of the questions from all of the homework and quiz assignments. But I have to say the question bank itself was plentiful. So we had no problem just typing in, show us some algebraic equations, and then narrowing it down by topic. And then you would get a wide variety of questions to be able to pick and choose the one that works with your customization. So yes, it was just plenty.
Thank you.
Great, perfect. All right, and the next question I saw in the chat that came in was for Kristen and Dana from Catherine. So about the Stony Brook OER LibGuide research, did you notice UX implications that were related to SpringShare LibGuide software?
Dana, did
Kristen, you want to go first?
Oh, I think in our research, we didn't see the issue was with the structure of the SpringShare platform. It was more about content creators privileging licensed databases and using traditional ways to organize knowledge. I think there is enough flexibility and creators have enough latitude to think about the architecture and the content they curate.
Right. I think there's too much emphasis on limitations of platforms or what the system can do or what it can't do. And I think on our article, we kind of say, like, go back to the basics. What can you do with just words on a page? How do you think about the information? What perspective are you putting it from?
Great, perfect. Thank you. I see Catherine says thank you in the chat. The next question that came in, Shannon, I saw you already answered it in the chat, but I didn't know if you wanted a chance to speak on that. The question was, did your college purchase the license of the textbook, or was the textbook that was just getting printed by the bookstore? Thanks for sharing your research. And that was from Amy.
Yeah, it was simply the library licensing books that were used as textbooks. And, what I would say is we found that a lot of more traditional textbook publishers are allowing the library to license them, like McGraw-Hill. There's a few holdouts like Pearson, but I think you'd be surprised at how many ebooks you can license. And for us, it's an online environment, so we don't have any ability to serve print, so we didn't deal with print at all.
Perfect, thank you. And then the last question that I saw in the chat come in was for Amy, and it was from Anna. She says, do you collaborate with your college instructional designer to promote OER?
Sorry, you kind of cut out a little bit, but can you hear me okay?
Yeah, did you want me to repeat the question? I don't mind. It was just, do you collaborate?
I believe the question was.
Yes. Yep, do you collaborate with your college instructional designer to promote OER?
Yes. I guess the answer is kind of like trifold. Yes, we do collaborate with other colleges in our technical college system, which is about 16 colleges in our state. And we are working together initiatives, and we also have some state funding grant that will be coming through.
Oops, I think we lost Amy. Or can folks still hear me? I wasn't. Oh, Amy, there you are. Sorry, you popped out. Now you're back in. Oh, I think you're muted. Sorry about that. I think you just popped out. I think your internet froze or something.
It did. Did I answer the question all the way?
Yeah.
I'm not sure when you cut out. I apologize.
No, you're okay. I think you did answer the question. Anna, I didn't know if you wanted to chime in there. Was that the answer you were looking for?
Yeah, yes, Amy, I just want to know what kind of promotion activities or events you will involve the institutional designer, how you guys collaborate. I just want to see what kind of activity you guys work together. I don't get a sense.
Definitely having some internet issues here.
I'm sorry, Amy. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, I was just wondering what kind of collaboration the library and the institutional designer work together, some kind of events, activities to promote the OER. How can you describe a little bit for me? I want to know what kind of collaboration the library and the institutional designers to promote the program.
Sadly, the audio has been pretty poor here, so some of your question has been cut out, Anna, but I'm hoping you can still hear me. I think the question was, how do we follow up with faculty? We also meet with them individually to also gain some information about what they're exactly looking for, how we can help and find OER resources. And then also we use a platform, our learning management system is also with Canvas. So we also input information as well into the courses for them. The designers do that piece.
Okay, thank you, Amy.
I'm sorry, I'm having bad audio here.
That's all right, thanks, thank you.
All right, great. Thanks, Amy. Okay, I didn't see any other questions in the chat, but I know we do have a few minutes. I know we're shifting gears right at 11 for the next presentation. So if there's any final thoughts, folks can feel free to unmute or keep putting them in the chat. But I think I got all of the questions that were in there originally as we were kind of going through each session.
I just want to extend a thank you to all of you that presented today and shared your research. It's been really helpful for me personally. I'm really intrigued by the data that was collected in the ways you did that, Anna, and as well as Shannon too. I'm a little inspired to go dig around a little bit more now. So thank you for sharing.
Great, thank you. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here.